ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience is to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's two ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately either.
Bill Maher has officially napalmed his ties with the left and is sprinting headfirst into political purgatory. Though he hasn't flat out signed a confession of betrayal, his fiery monologues and savage ambushes of Democratic guests spilled the secret loud and clear. In one volcanic showdown, Maher annihilated his guest for race baiting, unloading a linguistic sledgehammer that left the audience gasping. The wreckage was pure spectacle. Hit that like button and subscribe right now for more firestorms roasting political phonies.
I noticed that at the Super Bowl, for the first time in, I think, 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
Why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like
because it was stupid to begin with.
Yeah, but
let me ask you, who's it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
That's leftist media correspondent Tara Palmery serving up the woke left's trademark flavor of hollow virtue signaling, flinging buzzwords around like confetti and calling it policy. But Bill Maher wasn't buying the cheap fireworks. He cut her off cold with one sharp surgical question that stripped her argument bare. She froze. No snappy retort. No slick side-deep. Just the sinking realization that her slogans collapsed the second they touched reality. And isn't that the crux of it? The left keeps mistaking catchy chants and moral theater for actual progress. They thunder about justice, equity, and inclusion. Yet, when the talk shifts to real problems, crime, borders, inflation, national security, they vanish into thin air. Maher's pushback was a reminder that rhetoric without substance is just empty static. Sometimes I wonder if these activists ever pause long enough to realize their hashtags don't pay bills, secure neighborhoods, or make life any better for everyday Americans.
But the sentiment is basically like, don't be a...
But I think it's an to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write, don't be an on the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
Now, for anyone not keeping score, the end racism slogan didn't vanish because the president waved a magic wand. It evaporated because corporate America finally stumbled out of its woke-induced coma. For nearly a decade, CEO and PR flacks bowed like quarters, slapping empty slogans and rainbow logos on everything in sight just to appease the Twitter mob and fringe activists. It was never about fixing problems. It was about dodging digital pitchforks in a culture drunk on outrage. But here's the plot twist. The tide has turned. The woke fever broke and corporations are slinking back, ditching hollow hashtags and dusting off their original playbooks. Translation: the mob lost its bite. The pandering is pee and performative politics just went out of fashion.
Under the previous administration, we would have inquiries. We would request information. We would want cabinet secretaries and assistant secretaries and deputy secretaries to come before committee. We would send letter after letter after letter and get no response. The Biden administration operated literally in the shadows. They would not tell you anything that was going on. At least Donald Trump puts it out in the litany of orders that come out that day. Here's what we're doing today. We're going into the Department of Justice. We are taking these attorneys and they are under supervisory review, or however they choose to phrase it. You knew nothing that was going on in Joe Biden's presidency.
Meanwhile, these same folks have the goal to crown themselves champions of democracy. But what kind of democracy keeps its citizens in the dark? With them, transparency is a fairy tale. Every headline is stage managed. Every press conference choreographed. Every storyline twisted like a pretzel. And when they finally do reveal something, It's not honesty. It's just another coat of spin lacquered over deception. With Democrats, the closer you zoom in, the blurrier it all gets. Behind the curtain, pure smoke, mirrors, and political vaudeville. Contrast that with Trump, who, love him or loathe him, built his brand on actually following through. Democrats, by comparison, have mastered the art of the broken promise. Case in point, Biden swore he'd uphold the rule of law and let his son face consequences. But when push came to shove, he yanked the levers to shield him. Textbook hypocrisy.
Bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
Bill Maher didn't ease up for a second. He kept shredding Paul Mary for doing what the left has turned into an Olympic sport, ignoring reality and squeezing every issue through the overused filters of race and gender. It's the same tired script the Democratic National Committee has been running on repeat. Slice people into categories, stir up identity politics, and pray no one notices the absence of actual solutions. But America's tuned out of that show. Voters see the trick, and the DNC's so-called strategy is starting to play like a bad sitcom rerun. The real tragedy, they won't let it go. Instead of evolving, they're doubling down, clutching those same divisive storylines that once gave them juice, but now highlight just how hollow they are. Maher's pushback only hammered the point home. This fixation on identity over substance isn't just outdated. It's a losing hand, and the clock is running out.
And sexism, Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here.
The Democrats love rolling out the narrative that America didn't embrace Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton simply because of their gender. It's their go-to excuse, a ready-made shield to dodge responsibility for failure. But as Bill Maher bluntly reminds us, that was never the problem. Voters didn't reject them for being women. They rejected them because the Democratic Party refuses to tackle the issues that actually hit home for ordinary Americans. Instead of grappling with soaring prices, border breakdowns, crime waves in big cities, or collapsing trust in government, Democrats obsess over pronouns, police everyone's language, and turn every conversation into a sermon on gender or race. Maher's jab cuts deep because it's true. People aren't put off by women candidates. They are put off by a party more consumed with identity theater than real solutions. And that's why the Democrats keep bleeding support.
They actually see women and people of color, and it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but your feelings, look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know from the get-go.
And that right there has always been the fatal flaw of the Democrats. They strut around convinced they're the intellectual aristocracy of every room. Anyone who dares push back on their worldview or refuses to gulp down their ideology is instantly branded ignorant, backwards, or hopelessly uneducated. It's an arrogance that oozes through every speech, every debate, every carefully rehearsed media clip. Layered on top is the endless moral pining, lecturing the country as though they alone own the patent on virtue. Honestly, it's exhausting. That holier-than-thou act hasn't just made them unbearable. It's cracked the nation right down the middle. Instead of persuading, they shamed. Instead of building bridges, they torched them. And in the process, they've managed to alienate more than half the country, leaving behind a party that loves to boast about inclusivity while practicing the purest form of exclusion.
All you have to do is ask my father, who literally got in the Orangeburg Massacre, right? Who helped found SNCC, who marched with Marion Barry and Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King, and the list goes on and on and on. And he will tell you today that he feels like this country's at 1954. And so if you want to talk about somebody...
That doesn't mean it is.
Well,
you said he feels that way. That's ridiculous.
And the second you refuse to march in lockstep with their philosophies or policies, Democrats brand you as someone desperate to catapult America back into the Stone Age. It's their favorite scare tactic. Slap the backward caveman label on anyone who dares to disagree. But here's the truth. America has come a long way since the 1960s. Women not only vote, they command seats in Congress, helm Fortune 500 companies, and yes, run for the presidency. We've even had our first female vice president, who also happens to be a woman of color. That milestone alone shatters the old narratives they keep dusting off. America isn't frozen in the past. It's evolving, opening doors that once seemed nailed shut. Yet, instead of applauding the progress, the left clings to outdated victimhood politics, pretending nothing has changed. It's a script that no longer matches the reality of the nation.
I'm talking about systemic racism. And most times...
Has it gotten worse since 1960?
Yes, actually...
Systemic racism has gotten worse since Jim Crow.
Yes. So you want me to give you a stat? Black home ownership today is less than it was pre-Fair Housing Act of 1968. The schools are falling apart. The infrastructure is eroded. I think the ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience is to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human.
Bill Maher didn't flinch when Barry Sir started drifting into race-baiting territory. Sellers argued that people of a different color could never truly grasp the Black American experience. But Maher wasn't having it. He fired back, pointing out that perspective cuts both ways. Sometimes being too close to an issue can blur your vision just as much as being far away. Maher noted that Sellers, while clearly passionate, might actually be so steeped in the narrative of racial struggle that he can't step back to see the bigger picture. It was a gutsy but necessary reminder that understanding isn't dictated by skin color, and that constantly filtering every discussion through race risks, muddying solutions instead of clarifying them. Maher's pushback spotlighted a deeper truth. Proximity doesn't guarantee clarity, and sometimes it takes distance to finally see the root of a problem.
What I am saying, though, is for you to discount my father's experience and say...
I'm not discounting it.
And to say it was silly...
I'm not...
No, he was...
No, shit. No, but he's still alive. Like, he's right here. Like,
right, but the idea that if I were to say to you, as a Jew, that the experience of Jews in the United States today is worse than the experience of Jews in Europe in 1939, I would not be stating accurately.
Correct.
It's not true.
That's
and
right.
It's also not true to say that the experience of black people in America in 2024 is worse on a general level than the experience of black men in 1954. Now,